So I want to tell a story about how I know everything happens for a reason. Some of you may not know this, but 2 years ago, I had a stroke on December 11th of 2019. And yes, I recognize the significance of the fact that this happened on an 11 day. Anyway, it was a freak incident. I'm still not sure why it happened from a physical standpoint, but I think I figured out the big why, like why it happened. I remember lying in the hospital bed thinking, why is this happening? Like, I wonder if I'm gonna get superpowers. And you know what? I was right. I got superpowers. Okay, so maybe I didn't get those kind of superpowers, but I did get something pretty cool out of it. I get to see that we have way more control over our experience in life than we give ourselves credit for. I believe everything happens for a reason, but we don't always get to see what that reason is. Wrong! You actually have to find the reason yourself. You have to create the reason. And sure, sometimes it takes some time. Maybe you'll understand the reason the next day, or maybe it'll take a few years. Guess what? If you remain a victim to the circumstance, you're never gonna find the reason. Let me explain. So here I was, worst headache I've ever had in my life. My vision was like swimming up and down. My body was falling all over itself like I had been slamming shots for the past several hours. And I was leaning on my friend for support as he was helping me stagger to his vehicle to get me to the ER. I thought I had been keeping my cool up to this point, but in actuality, I was going into survival mode. Like, when we experience something traumatic, in a way, we're pretending it's not really happening. We pretended it's not real, and we shut down everything except for our basic survival instincts. So that's actually not good, and that's why we end up with PTSD. Because when your brain is shut down in the moment of something happening, it's got to process that somehow. So it does that later, after the event has happened. And that's why we get flashbacks, and it triggers us. And we experience it as though it's happening right here, right now in the physical, when it happened in the past. If you want to avoid being traumatized, then you have to accept what's happening and feel your feelings and process it in the present moment. That's easier said than done, which is why I shut down into basic survival mode up until that point. And then I realized, holy shit, something bad is happening to me right now, and I don't know what it is or why. And that's another terrifying thing about traumatic events. You don't feel like you're safe, and you don't feel like you're in control. And so I said out loud, I think I'm about to hit the panic button. And my friend said, don't hit the panic button, everything's gonna be okay. And something in the way he said that made everything click. I've done this already. I've had something bad happen to me, and I shut down and I denied that it was happening, and that wrecked me. I had to go to the hospital when I hate hospitals, and I had to have things done to my body that I was not okay with. So then I started denying that any of it was real, and my brain was not processing it properly. I had PTSD for a long time after that. I'm not going to do that again. So when he said everything was going to be okay, I chose to believe him. If I believe everything happens for a reason, then damn it, I need to trust that this is happening for a reason. And if it's happening for a reason, then I am safe, and I am going to be okay. Something bad happened to me before, and I came out stronger than ever. I just had to do a lot of suffering to get there. This time, I knew I'd come out stronger than ever again, but maybe I don't have to suffer again. Which means I had to practice surrender. I needed to trust that a higher power was seeing me through this, and I needed to surrender to that higher power. Be present with what's happening, feel my feelings, and go where I'm guided. It's scary to feel like you don't have any control, which is why that surrender is really hard to do. It's easy to think that when you surrender, you're giving up your control and giving away your power. And we all know that feeling like we're out of control is a pretty scary feeling. But here's something important you guys need to know, and something luckily I had already figured out prior to this moment because knowing this came in really handy. You only have control over 2 things in life, and that's it. You can't control people's actions and thoughts. You can't control the events happening in your life or the obstacles that you're faced with. You can't control your schedule, and you can't control the time. And you can't control the weather. But you can control your thoughts and your actions or your reactions. So I thought, I can either roll with this or I can freak out over this. What sounds better? I'll roll with it. I cracked some jokes with the MRI tech, I flirted with the triage nurse, And I chose to really look at what was going on with a curiosity rather than a fear. How strange it was that when lying down, my brain thought the wall was up rather than the ceiling. How strange it was that when I stood up, the floor felt like it was moving and tilting. And when I worked with physical therapy, how fascinating that when I took a step, sometimes it felt like I was stepping into a hole, and sometimes it felt like I was stepping up onto a step, when the floor was completely flat. Our brains are complex, like more than I ever realized. And as I tuned into myself, it was almost like I could feel the little neural pathways reconnecting themselves. And then the more I used my body, the more those pathways and those synapses kept reconnecting, so that when I reached to scratch my nose, I didn't accidentally poke myself in the eye, which yes, that happened a few times. And yes, I did try to move objects with my mind while my brain was reconnecting. No luck with that, but like I said earlier, I did gain a superpower. I came out of what could have been a traumatic event completely emotionally unscathed. I chose to see it as fun as I learned to walk up and down the stairs, and I was getting better at turning corners or talking on the phone while walking at the same time. And I found it completely incredible that I could just completely silence my mind so that it was absolutely empty and silent. There's monks sitting on mountainsides somewhere trying to achieve that yet today, and I got to achieve it by accident. My new superpower is knowing that we control why things happen. Why did I have a stroke? Maybe to appreciate my brain better? Maybe to realize that the reaction I choose for a situation can actually control the outcome? Maybe to see that a positive attitude creates a positive experience. Those are all reasons, right? Maybe I had a stroke to see that I'm never in control and that life can throw you really shitty curveballs. I don't really like that reason, but it's still a reason, right? I'd rather look at it as life does throw you curveballs, but every single one of them is an opportunity to learn and grow. That sounds better than the other way I worded it, but both are true, right? So think about what's happened to you. Maybe you lost your job. Why? Because life isn't fair? Or maybe because that job wasn't meant for you and there's a better one waiting. Both are reasons, right? Which one works better for you? Maybe your spouse left you. Why? Because you're unlovable? Or because that partner wasn't right for you and there's a better person waiting? Or maybe it's an opportunity for you to learn to love yourself. All of these are reasons. Which one feels better to you? Look at all the different circumstances that can happen and all the different reasons they could happen. You get to choose the reason that you like the best, that works best for you. That's a lot of power. That's pretty cool. Everything does happen for a reason, but it's only the reason that you give it. You have to find the reason. So whatever happened didn't happen to you. You're gonna have to get out of the victim mindset and recognize that it happened for you. Take control of yourself. What do you want to learn? How can you be a better person? What strength can you gain? And how can this circumstance bring that into your life? Or maybe you like wallowing in your misfortune and cursing life for its unfairness. That's fine too. Either way, it's your choice. I always say life can be hard, but it doesn't have to suck. And it's up to us to make sure it doesn't. We can actually enjoy it despite our obstacles and our challenges. Thanks for listening. I hope this story inspired you and uplifted you, and I hope it helped you embrace all of the experiences that you have in life.